welcome back to another video. So today I'm back again with Maria Trolle's Flora, and I've been coloring the little fairy house in this book. I've done quite a few tutorials already. I have my Prismacolor chart, which is available in my Etsy shop if you're interested. And I have some of my Prismacolors here. And in this video, I want to share with you a little trick I like to use on my coloring pages, where I take a couple of the colors from one or two objects on the coloring page, and I sort of put all those colors together, maybe bring in another color, and then color something else with those colors. And it really helps to tie everything together across the whole coloring page. So that's what we're going to do today. If you check the description box down below, you'll find links down there for my Facebook group, my Etsy shop, my email list, and my Patreon if you'd like to support me there. I also now have channel membership. If you would like to find more information out about that, you can click the join button down below the video. So if you've been following along with this color along and all of the tutorials I've done so far, you've probably seen all of the other videos. If you have not, or you're new here and you would like to follow along with this page, I do have a playlist. I'll link it in the upper right hand corner, and you can follow along from the very beginning up to the point that we're at now. Both of the trees over here, I did color those on my own time, but I did add in a video where I showed you exactly how to create the texture on these trees, and then I did finish off the trees in the end of that video. But today we are going to color this cute little boat down here along with the ladder. I'm going to show you how to take some of the other colors that I used on some of the other objects around the page, and I'm going to kind of bring all of those colors together to color these two objects, and they may look a little bit different from one another when I'm done, because I may do a little bit of something different on the boat than I do on the ladder. And then the next video after this one, I'm going to be doing the background, and I have really cool plans for that one, so stick around for that video as well. Now I've got a couple of my color combinations laying over here. This color combination here is what I used for the trees. They are a combination of some browns, a couple different browns with different undertones, and then I used a couple colors to give it a little pop of orange so that they really stand out. But the colors I have are the chocolate, the sandbar brown, and then for those highlights, I used the salmon pink and the light peach. So I'm probably going to use some of these colors today. I don't know yet exactly how I'm going to use them, but we will see. And then I also have the color combination here that I used for these flowers. Those were dark umber, pumpkin orange, sunburst yellow, yellowed orange, and the deco yellow. Now I'm going to use some of these colors, and I'm just going to try to combine a lot of them together. I don't really know where I'm going with this yet, but we'll see how it turns out in the end. But these are my choices of colors. I might bring in some other colors as well, because I have an idea for this boat, but I do want the boat to look a little bit different than the ladder. So that's why I've got so many colors, and I'm going to try to just mix them up just a little bit and see what I can come up with. Now my whole point in doing this is because I'm now coming to the point where I'm starting to finish the page. I just have this area back here to do, and of course the butterflies. And so I really want to just tie everything together, and doing something like this really helps me to be able to accomplish that. And if you've been watching my previous videos, you know that I really struggled with what colors, and I kind of have gone back and forth. I was going to do the boat and the ladder in green, but then I did this amazing hilltop here, which I'm totally in love with, where I showed you how to create all of that extra depth and dimension with a pop of color. I absolutely love the way that it turned out. So of course, because this is green here, I want to be able to do these a different color that's going to stand out off of both the hilltop and stand out from the trees. So using just browns or just greens like I originally wanted to is kind of out of the question now, because everything would just blend in all together, and I don't want to do that. I want every object on the coloring page to really stand out on its own. So since the only place on the whole page is here in the flowers, where I just used different shades of oranges, and then I used a much darker brown to make them really kind of pop and look a little bit more elevated, I want to be able to bring those colors to other places on the page. So I am going to add them here to the canoe and the ladder, and then I'm most likely going to use them on the butterflies as well. Now the butterflies are going to be just a really quick color. I don't know if I'm going to add those to a video. If you're following along, you can really do whatever you want with the butterflies. They're just a really simple and easy color, and if you just add a couple colors or even just use two, you can make those look really good. So I am going to use my swatch chart for if and when I decide to bring in other colors. But my idea for the little canoe here, I think I'm going to do that first because I want to see what the canoe looks like before I start adding colors to the ladder. If you saw my last video where I did this hilltop, I wanted to make sure I had a little bit of a reflection right here below the door. So I want to make sure that reflection comes down this way. And so I do want to add a little bit of that, or a little pop of color right here in this area on the boat. Since I really want a pop of yellow there in the boat and I want it to look a little bit different, and I did use shades of yellow around other areas of the page like in the fairy house and such, I think I'm going to get my canary yellow and I'm going to add a little bit of that in there because, as you know, I'm trying to add pops of color in and around the page because when I first started it, it was very, very muted, and I may even come back later and add pops of color in all of the different objects here on the coloring page when it is completed. Okay, so I'm going to start with my canary yellow and I'm just going to add a little bit of this right in here, just to preserve that area because I know that I definitely want that area to be yellow. I'm also going to add a little bit here on the outside of the boat, but just in the front. Now I think I want my boat to have more of the browns in it, and then I want my ladder to have more of the shades of orange. That way the ladder is going to stand off in front of the brown tree a little bit more. I think I might be able to use the pumpkin orange here and then blend this in with maybe the sandbar brown, and that might look cool, but let's see what happens here first. Like I said, I want the ladder to have more orange in it than I have in the boat. So I'm probably going to use the brighter oranges when I come around and do the ladder. And I have never mixed a color like pumpkin orange in with canary yellow because canary yellow is like a super bright color and it's not something that I would just generally mix with that. So let's go ahead and come around this way. Let me add a little bit of orange over here. Now right now I'm just adding very, very light layers because I'm kind of testing out what I want to do. Let me go ahead and grab the sandbar brown, and I want to see how this color blends into that pumpkin orange. Oh, it gives it kind of like a rustic look. That is super cool. Oh, that's different. I like that. Okay, so as I start to get more layers down here, it's going to come together and look completely different. And now I don't know if I should have put that canary yellow here in this part of the boat. I may end up going over that. I don't know yet. We'll see. Okay, so now I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a blend of these two colors, the pumpkin orange and the sandbar brown, now that I see how it looks. And this is why it's so important when you're coloring to just go slow. It gives you a little bit of time to see how things look and kind of plan out your ideas and get a feel for whatever the look is that you're going for and how to create it. So let me add a little bit of brown up here towards the top of the boat. And I am going to have to probably use a different color for those paddles. I just don't know what I'm going to do yet. And I am going to need a darker brown to blend into this. So I'm kind of not sure about the yellow I added in here. Let me go ahead and grab the pumpkin orange again. I think I need more of a blend of this color in here because you can see when I lay that sandbar brown right down here where the bottom of these trees are hitting the boat, it kind of looks the same color. I think I'm going to have to continue making just a blend of these two colors, and then maybe I'll cover up some of that yellow but leave some of it there. Okay, so if I come in here and I just color over this and make a blend of those colors too, look how pretty that is. Okay, y'all, so you see why it's so important to go slow. I think I know what I want to do now. Sometimes it just takes a little bit. Okay, so now I think I want to grab my canary yellow and add a little bit right here But see, I would have never thought that blending together the canary yellow with pumpkin orange would even look good, since one is so much darker and more muted. It's so fun to take your Prismacolors and experiment like this and make a blend of colors and see what you can come up with. You can do it on a scrap sheet of paper, or you can do it like I did it. Doing it like I did it is probably a little bit more daring, but if you're a beginner, you may want to grab a scrap sheet of paper and test it out before you do it on your coloring pages. Okay, so I think this looks really good. Now I'm trying to decide if I should go with chocolate or dark umber to darken this up just a little bit, because I really want to add a whole lot of depth and dimension in here and kind of line all of the little lines on the boat and give it a little bit of texture at the same time too. I think we're going to start with the chocolate because the chocolate is lighter than the dark umber. So I want to come in here and just go over that line, and then I want to add my shadows like on the edges right in here, and then I want to come down here along this line and really darken this up, and then over here I want it to be quite a bit darker, so I'm going to go over that line and this line too. And I'm going to blend some of this color right in there, darkening it up quite a bit because I would imagine a whole lot less light is getting in there. Okay, so I'm going to come over here on the top part of the boat and I'm going to darken this up a bit. I'm using the pumpkin orange to do this. Okay, so I have my sandbar brown and I'm going to go over these just a bit here on the top of the boat and then down under here where I've got that paddle, and I'm really just piling on the layers now. So let me make this a little bit more orange here, and then I'm going to go over where I laid that chocolate and make a greater blend of those two colors there, pulling it in right there, but I still am leaving that little bit of a highlight area right there. And then I'm going to come over here and just go in a back and forth motion and pull these colors over. I think I do want to keep a little bit of the white of the paper because I want it to look like it has a little bit of texture. And then right here I want to create a blend where I've got that canary yellow. And I think I need to go all the way down here. And then I need to grab the canary yellow and blend that into the pumpkin orange. Okay, so now I have the chocolate and I want to keep adding layers here and darken this up just a bit and go over these lines a second time, and then down here along the bottom of the boat, and then over here on the edge of the boat. And I think right here I want to use my canary yellow and just add a pop of yellow in there. Oh, I like that. Okay, so let's come over here and darken up the yellow just a bit. Oh, that looks super cool. Okay, so I think the canary yellow does look really good. I do kind of like that highlight right there in the front. Okay, so I want to come in here underneath and I really want to darken this area up. So I grabbed the dark umber, which is a much darker brown, and I'm going to come in here and darken this up. Okay, so I'm going to do it here as well and come down into that line and then maybe a little bit over here. So now along here, I want to do something just to make it look like these pieces are separated just a little bit. And so right here under the paddle where I would imagine a whole lot less light is getting into there, I'm going to shade that in the dark umber. And then I'm going to go all the way around this upper part of the boat and then bring this all the way around here. Now this is a much darker brown than what I used on the trees, so it's really working to create that separation. And then I'm going to pull it down here just a little bit and then maybe just go along this line, and I think that helped to really create quite a bit of depth. And I'm just pulling it through just a little bit to blend this pumpkin orange in with that canary yellow. And I'm trying again not to cover up a lot of the white of the paper. Okay, so I grabbed my swatch chart because I want to keep the inside of the boat yellow. The darkest yellows I have are the yellow ochre, and then if I need to add a little bit more dimension here, I may go with the goldenrod or a very light brown. Let me see what I can come up with. So I'm going to start out with the yellow ochre and see how much depth and dimension I can create with just this color alone. And I think it looks a little bit better. I might need a brown to darken it up just a little bit, but I don't think I'm going to use the goldenrod. Now I have the canary yellow again, and I'm really going to go over this and just blend the colors together and brighten it up a bit. So let me grab the chocolate, and I'm just going to very, very lightly go over each one of these spaces here and around the paddles and darken it up just a little bit. And I'm hardly using any pressure. I'm going very, very lightly with this. And I think I need just a little behind this paddle. Okay, so anywhere that I laid that chocolate, I'm just coming over and blending that color out with the yellow ochre. So I'm thinking that the paddles need to be a different color, and I'm really seeing green there. So I guess we're gonna bring in more colors from the other objects on the coloring page, and we're going to bring them downward into these little paddles. And I think it's going to be best to probably use some of the colors that I used up here that are further away from the paddles and not use the colors I used here in the hill, since the paddles are laying right here up against that hill and I want them to stand out. So they need to have a different undertone than what I used down here on the hill. Okay, so it's been a long time since I did this house. That was a video from a very long time ago, and I just really wanted to finish this page, so I ended up now doing videos and tutorials for all the rest of the page. So I'm just going to go off what these colors look like. If I hold my swatch chart up here pretty close to the house, it looks like it may be olive green. Either olive green or Prussian green. It may be olive green. And then it looks like I may have some pale sage in there, possibly maybe even sap green light. So I'm gonna grab those along with the pale sage. So these are super small spaces. So I did sharpen my pencils to a really sharp tip. Okay, so I'm gonna start with just the pale sage, the Kelly green, and the sap green light, and we're gonna see where this goes. But I'm going to add a little bit of the sap green light just right in here, kind of in the centers of each paddle. Okay, so that was the pale sage. Now I've got the sap green light, and let's see what this looks like once I start laying the color down. These are so tiny that it's kind of hard to stay out of the spaces where I added the lighter color. Let me go ahead and add the Kelly green in here. I'm definitely going to need to do something else there because this is super close to the hilltop. I may even grab a brown or something just to darken that up. Let me add a little bit more of the pale sage in here and just blend these colors together. So now I'm going to use the olive green, and again my tip is really sharp on my pencil, and I'm going to darken these up and make them stand out just a bit more from everything else. And then these little straps here are holding down each one of the paddles. I'm just going to straight color those. I'm going to come over here on the top, and then I'm going to very lightly just try to go along this line here just to make these stand out a little bit more. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing to this one. Try to create a little bit of separation there between the background and this, since they're both green. And then again, I'm just going to line this top line here. And then I grabbed my dark umber, and I'm going to come in here and really darken this up just so that the paddle shows and there's a bigger difference in the value of the colors. Okay, so I really like the boat. Now we need to do the ladder, and the ladder should be super quick. I've got tons of colors laying over here from other objects on the page. And again, just like I did with the boat, I'm just going to start putting some of them together and see what I can come up with. Okay, so like I said, I do want it to have more orange in it, and I wanted the boat to look a little bit more brown, so I'm going to see what I can do here. And in some of these spaces, like right here, I accidentally went into the ladder with some of the green. So I might have to go a little bit darker on the ladder than I wanted to, because I'm going to have to cover some of that up. But this is the Deco Yellow, and I'm just adding some of this in here. Okay, so now I have the yellowed orange, and the yellowed orange was the color that I used in these flowers here. So I'm just going to start adding some of this and blend it right into the Deco Yellow. I did get quite a bit of green into the spaces on the ladder. So we're going to see what we can do about that. It's generally pretty easy to go over colors with another color, but it really depends on the value of the color, how dark it is as opposed to how light the color is that you accidentally went into a space. Okay, so I have my pumpkin orange. I might want to bring in another orange. I don't know. Let me see how this looks. I'm going to use this to try to create enough depth and sort of make the ladder look like it's lifting off the page. So each part of the ladder that is separated by another part, I'm going to make sure I get this darkest color in there. So underneath each one of the parts of the ladder here that's going horizontally, I'm gonna add quite a bit of this color down in there. And I'm most likely going to need a brown to darken this up. Okay, so let me come over here and go right across the top of this. So I'm just doing the same thing on every part of the ladder, but just looking at the ladder, I am definitely going to need a brown. And the brown that I used in the flowers, I think it was the dark umber, but I used it very, very lightly. It's a very dark brown. This is the dark umber here, and you can see that it is one of the darkest browns that we get aside from espresso. So I definitely don't want to go with espresso. That's really, really dark. Okay, so actually now I'm thinking that if I put the dark umber behind the ladder, it will make it stand out more. Let me see. So since I didn't use the dark umber on the tree, I'm just going to add it in here to create a deeper shadow. And I think that actually works. I'll just have to come in and do something a little bit different to the ladder and maybe add a couple more layers down there. Look at that. It's kind of lifting the ladder off the page. And then I'll be able to come back and just work on the ladder, adding in some more shades of orange. So right here, since I have the chartreuse, I'm just gonna go along this line really, really lightly, and it will help to elevate that. But this is a really cool trick that you can do on your coloring pages. Just by adding a much darker color behind something, it does help to create that separation and lift the object off the page as well. It just really helps to make things stand out so much more. And then maybe on the ladder, I'll just come in here and add another layer of the pumpkin orange. And then I'll use the chocolate, since the chocolate is so much lighter. So with your colored pencils, just getting quite a few layers down there is the trick to making everything look really good. Getting all your layers down there and covering a lot of that white of the paper. Now, if you want something to look like it has texture, like I did with the boat, you probably don't want to cover all of the white of the paper. It really all depends on the look that you're going for. Now, let me go ahead and grab my Deco Yellow, and I'm going to make sure that I put all those little highlights back in, or go over all of these spaces where I wanted to make sure that I had quite a bit of a highlight. And I think too, I was able to cover some of those spaces where I went over with the green quite a bit, and you really can't tell anymore. So now I'm going to grab my chocolate, and you can see compared to the dark umber, which is right here, that it is quite a bit lighter. So I'm going to use that color to go ahead and add a little bit more depth to the ladder and make it stand out just a little bit more. And I'm just doing this under each separate section of the ladder. And I think I'm going to add my canary yellow in here and make the yellow pop a little bit more than that Deco Yellow was able to. Okay, so the boat and the ladder are all done. I think adding these colors on the boat and the ladder, it did help to tie everything together. And of course, when I do the butterflies, I'm going to use the same shades in those as well. And I like how the boat has a few more shadows in it with some darker browns, and then the ladder has more of the orange tones in it. I really just love how they turned out. You can see now that if you just take some of your colors that you used on some of the other objects on your coloring pages and blend some of those colors together to create new blends to color the other objects, it really helps to bring everything together. If y'all enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Everything that you've seen me use in this video will be linked in the description box below so that you can easily find it. I hope y'all have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Happy coloring. Bye.